It's just rest, yeah. They're going to
30, 40 years not coach these fighters because they're not good enough, technically. And
here we go. We found it. Bingo. EJ's the man, bro. I've actually found the audio of Boxer Size Ben saying what he's saying. So we have liftoff, people. We have liftoff. What we got in the chat? We got liftoff. I'm saying arrogant. Yeah, he's arrogant for real. He is 100%. When season paid cheerleader. Yeah, it's a paid cheerleader. Yeah, Boxer Size Ben. All right, what we got here? Yeah. Has Ben Davis ever trained anyone in the amateurs or exactly, or a decent level? Most pros coaches are garbage. Yeah, exactly. They are in the UK. Yeah, 100%. I don't know if he has. I agree. Current level. You agree the current level is poor, but I think Tunde Apat don't get enough credit. Listen. Let me tell you something, yeah? He can't talk, innit? He's only been in the game. Unless you've built fighters from scratch, like amateurs, like we put it out. Big up, EJ. Yeah, big up, man. Unless you built fighters from scratch, you can't talk. So anyway, I found the audio. So let's get back to the audio. Let's see what Boxer Size Ben. So this is the official audio of where he said what he said, right? So make sure the volume's up loud. Let's get it in.
You know, looking back, I think looking back now, Billy Joe will look back and say, do you know what, we've done a good job doing that.
got out of prison then.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, there wasn't the same trust at the time. There was a little bit of doubt behind myself, but eventually, you know, like I say, looking back, to get a win that night.
He's talking about when he was in the corner with Mark Tibbs, right? Where he's overshadowing Mark Tibbs. Mark Tibbs trained him. It was with Billy Joe the whole time, and he's come on board late, and he's given his 2 cents. Mark Tibbs said he was chewing off his ear, so that's where the comments is probably going to be based on. Anyway, let's get through this. So he's talking about his experience in the corner with Canelo, and Mark Tibbs, where he really what he's doing is disrespectful. Mark Tibbs is the head coach. If you're helping out, you're supposed to sit there and listen to the head coach. He directs you, not the other way around. But let's see how it goes. But he said he's his friend, and anyway, let's see how it goes.
Knowing the shape and conditioning that Billy Joe was, I think it was a good victory, and like you say, we got away with that one.
So what, you've been on a fast track since then, Ben?
Yeah, but you know, not to blow my own trumpet, but I feel like
you're allowed to. No, I mean it.
I feel like, you know, people go, oh yeah, you got to work with this fighter, got to work with that fighter. Well, why is John, Bob, Bill, who's been in it for 30, 40 years, not coach these fighters? Because they're not good enough. It's easy to point the finger and go, oh, he gets to work with this fighter, gets to work with that fighter. Well, if you're good enough, you'll get there. And the reality is, I feel like the level of coaching is that poor in this country. I've been able to fast track. And if all these other guys that have been in it 30, 40 years are good enough, they'd be there. But they're not good enough, and that's why they're not here.
And is that because they're set in their ways? Because they've had success, they have success that goes in like cycles, a bit like a roller coaster.
They're lazy. That's the reality of it. I outwork them. That's the reality of it. They might have 30, 40 years on me, but the amount of time that I spend studying the sport, studying the opponents, studying my own fighters, the details that we go into, it's unrivaled work.
So would you classify yourself as a coachable coach, a guy that takes and absorbs and changes and evolves and is continually evolving?
100%. You have to look back at you have to look at yourself as well and say, where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? Where could I have gone better? Whether that's the undisputed fight, what adjustments could we have made? What better information could we have delivered? Or whether it was a bad night. You know, I haven't had a loss since 2016, thankfully. I hope it stays the same way, touch wood. But, you know, you always have to be reassessing yourself and, you know, carry on studying your sport. It'd be easy, like I say, for me to have not had a loss since 2016. It'd be easy for me to go, got this one. Don't need to worry about this. Don't need to worry about that. But if anything, we put more and more and more work in each and every time.
Because you said that when you were talking about Josh Taylor, you just said, you know, he keeps going from really good fight to really good fight to really good fight. Similar to you in some ways.
Yeah. You know, most of these fights have been title fights. Most world title fights. So clearly we're doing something right.
So, George, fairly normal stuff from Ben Davison there at the top, talking about his stable, talking about Devin Haney, talking about the McCormacks, who is now signed officially. A week after that, he officially announced that he'll be training them when they turn professional. They turn professional with Probellum. But some very strong stuff at the end for the for the training regime, the training system in the UK. He was fairly outspoken there.
Yeah, it's not nice, but I suppose he backs himself as a trainer, which is needed to a certain degree, and he's working with good fighters who want to continue working with him. So he's doing something right. At the end of the day, you also have to factor in an opportunity, because there's lots and lots of young trainers out there who just won't get that opportunity. And why Ben will get a lot of stick at the moment is because, I might be wrong, but I haven't quite seen him take someone and actually really put him through the levels. Maybe someone who should. You've got the McCormick brothers turn pro, and in 5 years' time, when them guys have become world champions, then we can say, right, there we go. So another young coach who I worked with was Shane McGuigan, who'd taken Frampton and made him a world champion. And obviously,
it's a very good point.
Part of that stable was, the Dan Barry was in there, and he played a vital part in that progression. But once Shane has got that status of training world champions, then I showed up at the door. Hay shows up at the door. Lawrence Okoli shows up at the door. Yeah. Adam Booth, another coach who I work with. Why I had faith in him at the start was, I said, well, how do I know you can do it for me? He said, well, it was a specific question. It was like, how do I know you can develop talent? You've got David Hay, he's world champion. Okay. But he's like, yeah, well, I took David Hay, trained him when he was an amateur at the Fitzroy Lodge, and then we got him top end. So Ben, I think he says the right things. He's working, and now, as I say, once he's got success with, he's been in Tyson Fury's corner, so he's been in Josh Taylor's corner. Josh Taylor was unified world champion when he went to him, so but he's kept him unified world champion. Now he's got all the belts. The likes of Devin Haney and fighters like that are now going to say, well, let me look around. Who's doing really well? Who's working hard? Who knows what they're doing? Oh, this guy. There's only a handful of trainers out there, Steve, who have got the right mindset, the mindset that Ben's talking about, where he's willing to put in the work, he's willing to study the guy's opponents, he's willing to study his own fighters' opponents, he's willing to critique himself and make adjustments, not just be an authoritarian trainer and say it's my way or the highway, which is sometimes the case with, the real old school trainers who have been around a long time.
Very American style, very American 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s thing. I agree.
And, you've got to back yourself to a certain degree as a trainer, I think, and he definitely does. You can hear that there and then. But I mean, as a fighter, you never know until you spend sort of significant time with them. You can study the trainer in the corner and see how they are. They're giving them the right instructions. They're clear and concise. They sort of got the game plan right, and you can be really critical. But at the end of the day, at that top end, if you've got a Josh Taylor who's a phenomenal fighter, unless it's much easier to see when he gets it catastrophically wrong and then blame the trainer. Then when he gets it right, and you're like, well, he's a good fighter anyway. So you want to see what it's like, what they're like in the gym, and ultimately, are they likable people? Because you've got to spend a lot of time with them. He's been fortunate, right place, right time. He had the MTK link, and he inherited a lot of great fighters who are under the MTK banner. But that's what happens. You got Tony Sims is a great coach, but he's sort of affiliated to Matchroom because he trains in a Matchroom gym. So lots of fighters that sign with Matchroom gravitate to his gym, and he's in there, with loads.
Yeah, but Tony Sims ain't talking. I need to go back, man. See, George Groves, that was George Groves talking. See, George Groves knows, right? He knows what he's talking about. Like he knows about bringing guys through the amateurs. You see what I'm trying to say? When you're gifted with ready-made fighters from the amateurs, right? All you got to do is just give that, and the matchmaker. Now, the key is, we're talking about training and see why Ben has to look at all these footage and I'm working hard on you, because he ain't got a set format. The old trainers or whatever, they learned their craft in the amateurs. They made the mistakes in the amateurs. They got their wins in amateurs. So when they came out, they're ready made. They know what they're doing. Ben's doing all this stuff because he's still trying to learn. That's why he feels like he has to learn all this footage and do this, that, the other. And then I'm going to play it one more time without George Grove. Then we're going to hear from Ben Ben say. So, you know what I mean? So stay with me. Let me run it back again. Let's hear from Ben again, because the arrogance of him saying you're basically getting gifted top-notch fighters like Tyson Fury in your lap, Billy Joe Saunders in your lap. The McCormick brothers, like that's, I think they're them boys there. They was the Kimot brothers. They was in the Olympics recently. So he's got a good crop. Like they said, they can judge him in 5 years' time. He's going to do anything with them, but that's going to be due to the matchmaking. That's how it works. It's going to be due to the matchmaking. If they become world champions and you from the start, listen. They're giving you the golden ticket, the red carpet. They're giving you everything. So you know what I mean. It's you got to be. It's very hard to mess up. The only time you're gonna mess up is when they fought other guys that you're not supposed to beat. So for the first 5 years of their career, they're gonna be matched with guys for them to beat. And then anything goes wrong, you're gonna get pulled up on it. That's why he's doing all this talking and stuff like that. But it's this is the mistakes of people, youth, like of youth. They talk before they can walk, in it. And that's I mean, EJ spitting facts. I tried to. All right, let me run it back again without, because George Groves knows exactly what's going on. Exactly. You know what I mean? He's talking about Tony Sims, but Tony Sims ain't the one talking. Let me hear from boxer size Ben again.
About his stable, talking about Devin Haney, talking about the McCormacks, who is now Ben, we've talked about some big fights in your recent past, and we've talked about some big fights
and how they can, get in the way of other big fights, but there are also potential hiccups as well, and
massive.
Yeah, and people was talking about that Thai guy. I think you was there that night.
Yeah,
he said to me, "I've never," and that was a real potential hiccup, because if he did,
without using Josh Taylor, what fight are you most looking forward to, or would you most like to see in?
Because he's been around so many different trainers, taken advice from so many different people, talking about how his mindset's completely changed. I really am intrigued to see the adjustments that get made going into that fight.
Do you think he can make adjustments to win?
I think he can win the fight. Do I think he knows or has found out the adjustments that he needs to make? I don't believe so, not yet. I think that he can win that fight, and I actually want him to win that fight. I want him to make adjustments. I believe that Eddie Reynoso is stylistically the right matchup. I knew exactly what he meant when he said, what did Canelo say? The importance of feints. I know exactly what he means. I can picture the scenarios that they're talking about, meant a style matchup for him.
Ben, we've talked about some big fights in your recent past, and we've talked about some big fights next year. Now I'm going to take you back. If you want to close your eyes, just rest your head. I'm going to take you back to the Paisley ice rink just outside of Glasgow. I know you'd already done some stuff. That was the launch.
I can say, do you know what? We've done a good job doing that. To get a win that night, knowing.
No, I mean it.
I feel like, people go, oh, yeah, you got to work with this fight, I got to work with that fight. Well, why is...
Here we go. All right, so I got timestamp here. I got to record it because it's... I got to record this. This guy is deep, I can't... This man's deep. Let me just turn the volume up on that. This man's funny, man. Boxer size Ben running up his mat. All right, here we go. Let's play this. Let's play that.
John, Bob, Bill, who's been in it for 30, 40 years, not coach these fighters, because they're not going to say, do you know what, we've done a good job doing that. Yeah, but I don't think that, there wasn't the same trust at the time. There was a little bit of doubt behind myself, but eventually, like I say, looking back, to get a win that night, knowing the shape and conditioning that Billy Joe was, I think it was a good victory, and like you say, we got away with that one.
So what, you've been on a fast track since then, Ben?
Yeah, but not to blow my own trumpet, but I feel like
you're allowed to. No, I mean it.
I feel like people go, oh yeah, you got to work with this fight, I got to work with that fight. Well, why is John, Bob, Bill, who's been in it for 30, 40 years, not coach these fighters? Because they're not good enough. It's easy to point the finger and go, oh, he got away with, he gets to work with this fight, he gets to work with that fight. Well, if you're good enough, you'll get there. And the reality is, I feel like the level of coaching is that poor in this country. I've been able to fast track. And if all these other guys that have been in it 30, 40 years are good enough, they'd be there. But they're not good enough, and that's why they're not here.
And is that because they're set in their ways? Because they've had success, they have success, it goes in like cycles, a bit like a roller coaster.
They're lazy. That's the reality of it. I outwork them. That's the reality of it. They might have 30, 40 years on me, but the amount of time that I spend studying the sport, studying the opponents, studying my own fighters, the details that we go into. It's unrivaled work.
So would you classify yourself as a coachable coach, a guy that takes and absorbs and changes and evolves and is continually evolving?
100%. You have to look back at yourself as well and say, where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? Where could I have gone better? Whether that's the undisputed fight, what adjustments could we have made? What better information could we have delivered? Or whether it was a bad night. I haven't had a loss since 2016, thankfully. I hope it stays the same way, touch wood. But you always have to be reassessing yourself and carry on studying your sport. It'd be easy, like I say, for me to have not had a loss since 2016. It'd be easy for me to go, got this one. Don't need to worry about this. Don't need to worry about that. But if anything, we put more and more and more work in each and every time.
Because you said that when you were talking about Josh Taylor, you just said, he keeps going from really good fight to really good fight to really good fight. Similar to you in some ways.
Yeah. Most of these fights have been title fights. Most world title fights. So clearly we're doing something right.
So George, fairly normal stuff from Ben Davison there at the top.
So that's his take, man. That's boxer size Ben. That's his take. That's some strong words there, old Ben. All right. Now we're gonna hear him backtrack. That's what we're gonna hear right now. We're gonna hear him backtrack his way out. Backtrack his way out of the situation. And it's a funny thing to hear. I must say it's hilarious. All right, let me even backtrack 1 second. Let me prep him up. I mean, I when I first heard it, I had so much things in my mind that I wanted to say. Then after a while, I just thought, this guy, and he's just. All right, let's say from whole boxer size Ben. Let's find the other audio now. So we've got that there. That's this there. Right. Let me see. Where we at? Crazy. He's been gifted fighters. Like he goes, I'm outworking them. How are you outworking them? Up being fast track. What do you mean fast track? To where? Where are you fast tracking to? You know what I mean? Like, if you're developing fighters coming through, young fighters. All you're doing is working over other people's work. You're not really doing any work yourself, are you? You know what I mean? Like taking someone who don't know how to fight and making them fight in the amateurs and bringing them through, winning novice champions and ABA championships and the Pan Am Games, the Commonwealth Games, the World Games, the Olympic Games. From the Olympics, you're getting them fresh from the Olympics, or they've been a world champion, or have done well in their country. Josh Taylor was already accomplished over 100 fights. The McCormicks have just recently been in the Olympics. Tyson Fury didn't get. I think he was in the Olympics. He got a qualifier final, got knocked out in the final against with David Price, so he couldn't get to go to Olympics. These are fairly decent guys, and Tyson Fury's been matched very well. So yeah, I mean, you haven't had a loss in 2016. Boxer size Ben. Oh shit, bro! I'll tell you some of the stuff I hear. Yeah, you ain't had a loss. Listen, losses is where you lose, is where you learn, mate, my friend. That's where you learn your craft. All right, let me get into it. So you learn your craft.
First of all, wow.
All right, here we go.
Any human, if I went through, he said this,
Here we go.
He's everything I do.
Let me get back to it.
Yeah.
He got
reply video,
he got asked some real.
I haven't got a problem with Peter.
He got asked some stiff questions, by the way.
It doesn't the way I come across on a camera.
Here we go.
I don't see how.
Here we go. Ask him the question.
Standard low-level pros. It's not standard at.
Ask him the question.
Basketball.
So I was just distracted there by the mathematician.
That quote actually brought a few people out of the wood.
Here we go.
You earn what you get.
Come on, Ben.
Well, they decided where they were signing anywhere, and they had choices to go to any coaches they wanted.
We're gonna miss it.
Almost as if where people would say, "This is getting." If you always comes to us sparring, I respect.
Comments that I think it's safe to say.
All right, here we go.
But as I said, I'm very, very confident in the plan that we've put together, and
here we go.
Making sure the league gets it right on the night.
Right. So you did an interview this week. Well, you didn't do it this week, I don't think. It was released this week.
Yeah, he done it with Steve Bunce. Yeah, because I got the audio. We just heard it, right? So now we here. Robert Tebbutt, he puts it on him actually, and now we're hearing Backtrack.
Josh's press conference with Steve Bunce, BBC Radio 5 Live, where you made some comments about the standard of some of the training in the UK, made some comments that I think it's safe to say riled a few people, drew some negative feedback. Just first and foremost, really, your response to the criticism of your criticism, as it were, in that interview.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, there's all this, don't be fake, say what you know, be true, be real, etc., etc. That's my opinion, simple as that. Whether it was how I put it or the way it was quoted, I don't know. But obviously it come across as though I was putting myself on a hierarchy and as though I was talking about every coach. Definitely not. I've got a great relationship with some of the coaches. As you saw, Tony's been in here today. We always go to his gym. His gym always comes to us, sparring. I respect Tony. Works hard and works smart. As I said, we was talking about earlier, he brings in guys, you know, he brings in Dan Lawrence, S&C, to cover areas that he may not be the best at. I do the exact same thing. I respect that. Gets up early, works hard all through the day, does the boys 2 sessions a day, studies the boys' opponents. I respect that. Shane McGuigan works hard. I respect that. Shane's another one where people would say, this is getting to my point of what I was meaning. Shane's another one where people would say he only had success because, or only got to work with these fighters, then he had success because of who his dad is. He works hard. If he weren't a good coach and didn't work hard, he wouldn't keep getting results. Joe Gallagher's another one. You know what I'm saying? These, not that I know Shane, but obviously I know the boys here that can vouch for him, etc., etc. So my point wasn't across the board to all the coaches. My point was across the board to the coaches that are going to say, Ben only got lucky because he got to work with this fighter. Ben only got lucky because he got to work with that fighter. They say that, you know, almost as if I work closely to MTK. So
yeah, and you know that's the truth. You did get lucky, right? But you but the thing is, there's no other trainers want to roll with them gangsters though. Like, guys don't want to roll with a lot of guys. Like, people don't want to really be affiliated with that kind of gangster affiliation. So, you know, there's no only one there. I think there's you and Andy Lee in it, as far as I know. So yeah, you're the only one there. You can get, they've got fighters and they you know, they've got money to bring the fighters in, and you're gifted the golden carpet, mate. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have got lucky in a way, but it's because of who you're affiliated with. So you know that already. He's looking in the sky like he's talking. Yeah, he see, the thing is, it's all right when you said it on 5 Live and you was thinking, but now you have to answer. You have to what's it? You have to answer the pipe or whatever. That's the quote, whatever. So you know the truth. Come on.
that's why I get to work with these fighters, or MTK tells these fighters to go with me. No fighter's going to get told who they're going to go with, you know. And the reason I ended up working closely with MTK was because I was having success with fighters. Working with the fighters first. Same situation with the McCormacks here. They come to me before they decided where they were signing anywhere. And they had choices to go to any coaches they wanted. Same as Josh had a choice to go with any coach in the world he wanted to. So my point is to the coaches that say, I've been in this 30, 40 years and this person got lucky, that person got lucky. I'm not only talking about myself, I'm talking about that mentality, you know. I've got no respect for that. No respect for that. You earn what you get. You put the work in, you get the results. It's as simple as that. If people don't like that, then we're not the same. And I have no issue with that. So yeah, I'm not putting myself on a hierarchy. Do I think that the average standard of coaching is poor? Yes, for sure. I do believe that. But do I mean that to all the coaches? Of course not. As I say, I respect, and I've got a great relationship with some of the coaches in the UK and across the pond. So I just respect the work ethic. I respect someone that is going to work hard and do their absolute best to get the best out of that fighter. That's what I respect.
So I was just distracted there by the mathematician.
That quote actually brought a few people out of the woodwork. Not that I have a look, because I'm not.
You're damn right. It bring people out the woodwork. People with foraging out, coming out the forest and everything, because it upset a lot of people because it's a sweeping quote, and you know, we heard from George Grove early. You ain't brought no one from the amateurs. That you haven't done it. Adam Booth has done that with David Hay, and through the amateurs and bring him all the way through. And a lot of the coaches. Shane works with his dad and he's learning, but Shane's not making these comments. You are, Ben, saying these old guys and that. The old guys have a system. They learned their system. They learned it. They polished it up in the amateurs or whatever, and that's what they do. They can swear by it. That's the system. Customato had his system. Teddy Atlas has a system. They learned that. Where do you think they learned it from? What, they just made it up? They learned it over the years, probably for other trainers, older trainers telling them stuff, and then they went out there and tried it by trial and error. Yeah, right now you're all you care about is being undefeated from 2016. Yeah, but you're not actually, because you was in the corner, my friend, when Billy Joe Saunders got a beating by Canelo, weren't you? So you're not exactly undefeated, are you? I swear you was in the corner. Yeah, and then Tyson Fury nearly got decked by Wilder. You got a draw. You got out of that one, didn't you? Yeah? And Otto Wallen was putting it on Tyson Fury, and his dad made up so much noise, he wanted you out of the corner. Yeah, boxer size Ben. So you stay there, keep talking, innit? Undefeated, and I work harder than them lot. The reason why you're doing all that, because you haven't got a system yet. Yeah, you haven't got a set system. These fighters already made, so you feel like, oh, this is what you got to do to win the fight. Yeah, great, break down the fight. But it's a lot in the pros. There's a lot of matchmaking. Amateurs, you ain't got that. You match them by bouts. How many bouts you had? All right. And what weight you are? All right. Yeah. And that's it. You're in. And especially when you're in the tournament, you don't know who you're gonna fight. You turn up on a day, Southpaw, Orthodox. You don't know who that until you're in the ring. And then you find out the first minute, the first round. Then you can start do your craft, where you have to tell your fight how to get through that, talk him through into a win. And you only got a certain amount of minutes to get him through to get a win. So, my Ben, and you talk about in the UK, he's got loads of good trainers, loads. It's the sweeping comment is madness, but that's just my opinion, innit? You know what I mean? Everyone's got theirs, innit? He breaks it down in that, so you want to hear him break it down a bit. Yeah, of course the people gonna come out. People, Tunde and Pat, 100%. They bought them from the amateurs, innit? Tunde got a yard with no previous in-depth amateur and done pretty well with him. It's done pretty well with him. Pat, Lyndon's about to what's his name again? And Zafar's about to fight for a world title, hopefully. So you know what I mean? Imagine Tunde saying this there. If Tunde was saying this, they'd be after Tunde, man. They'd be after Tunde. You know what I mean? But Tunde, they came after Tunde, but he said in my opinion, he said yards better than Andre Ward. You know what I'm saying? Well, everyone gets it. Didn't Eubank say his fight is better than his son's better than Triple G when Triple G was doing his thing? Davis is the best trainer in the UK. Yeah. Maybe you think that doesn't even have his own gym. Nah. Yeah. He has never started from scratch. He didn't start from scratch. No, like George Francis and Mickey Duff out there. No, he didn't. He didn't. Professional boxing is more to do with is selection. You know what I mean? You put your guys in to win, so you can maximize his money and you get money. That's what it's a money business. It's like an investment. Professional boxing, you invest in your fighter. People talk about stock and all that shit, but it's just clearly investment. Yeah. How much money can my fighter generate? And if he generates, how much do I get from it? That's what it's about. So it's all about percentages. I get 10% if you're a trainer. I get another 25% if I'm a manager. If I promote the fight, I get another 25% off his cut. So the fight is doing all the heavy lifting. I'm getting cuts of it. I'm not taking the punches, but he is. So, Ben, he's just drowning himself, innit? Yeah. Anyway, let's play some more in it. It's interesting though, innit? Boxer size Ben, man, hilarious, mate. It's hilarious. What can I say? Eh? Let's hear some. Where's the rest of the interview? Oh, Ben, crazy man. My gosh. All right, here we go.
Overly keen on it, but I see a couple of people that felt like that to justify themselves. But that's to do that's nothing to do with me. If you feel like you need to prove, I did this, then that's you. I'm me. Not a problem. If I feel like the average standard of coaching, do I think that all the coaches in the UK, the top coaches in the UK are poor? No.
No, you said top coaches. See, top coaches. So what coach are you talking about? How are a coach from the York coming through? How are they going to get the opportunity? Because they come from the small horse shows when they go against the major promoters and the whoever they deem as a top trainer. Because the top promoters work with trainers who they pick. You've been picked, my friend. You've been picked to head MTK. You're the MTK guy. So you've got a big company behind you to make you successful, mate. So it's hard to think. The other guy from the small local show, the small time promoter, he ain't, when it comes to the school, the scorecard, he ain't getting a nod, is he? So, mate, it's his opinion, isn't it? That's all right, isn't it? Let me hear the rest of it.
Do I think that the average is poor? Yes. Do I think the standard of coaching, and I don't know why it said in the UK, I might have said the UK, but I actually mean it like in general, the average standard of coaching in boxing is extremely poor compared.
Yeah, but you don't know all the coaches either. So now you're leaving the UK, now you're talking about in the world, yeah? Hey, listen, what you quit? You need to dig. He's digging his grave in him, innit? He's digging his grave right here, man.
To other sports, you look at high school basketball. Look at their warm-ups, how structured.
He's talking about boxing and comparing it to basketball. Yeah. This is interesting. Let's hear it. How structured. Let's listen to this one.
Everything is how structured film study at high school level. They sit down together and go through film study. Their warm-ups specific. They go over the opponents, scouting reports on paper. As I said before, film study. Like it's not an opinion, that's a fact. Do you know, is that average at amateur level in boxing? No, it's not. It's not standard. It's not standard at low-level pros. It's not standard at any level in boxing. So I'll say that.
Why would you say that though? I don't know why you say that. I swear they got Sheffield up in Sheffield. You think they don't study the footage of who they're fighting and stuff like that? Why would you say that? Have you been to Sheffield, by the way? I'm sure. I think they do. You know, I think they do break down footage. Actually, I think is it standard for every local amateur fighter? They don't need to study the footage when they've been there. Because what it is, yeah, Ben, I think you don't know, is that the trainers usually a lot of them have photographic memories, yeah. So when they go out on the circuit and go into the tournaments, yeah, they look at certain guys. Yeah, I think my guy can have that guy. By looking at that's the eye test. They can look at them by knowing their guy and knowing that guy. That would be a good fight for the fans. And I reckon my guy could take him. And that's how we match them up. Some of them don't need the footage. They can look at you just hitting the pads and that for a couple of minutes and work out, yeah, my guy could take him. I'm serious. But remember, again, it's a shorter term. And remember, I'm talking about the amateurs, right? Now, in the pros, of course, in the pros, people break down footage all the time. Of course they do. So why are you talking like no one does it? You're the only one doing that. Everyone does that. It's not a class that everyone sits down and does that. A lot of the people, they don't need footage to break down. They can, like I said, they can see with the eye test, innit? Anyway, come on, Ben. You can come better than that.
Basketball, it's exactly the same for American football. So that's just my opinion.
With that being said,
a lot of people said that they agree with it. So, but they just think that I'm not. This is another point. A lot of people said that they agree with it. Sorry to cut you off there. A lot of people said that they agree with it, but that I need to be humble.
Yeah, you're not the person to talk it. That's what it is. A lot of people might agree with what you're saying in terms of footage and that, but they don't believe that you're the person to be talking it. That's what it is. That's where it is. You, of all people, you shouldn't be talking boxer size, Ben. That's why people are upset with it. But it's okay, you know. Like you said, it's your opinion, but you're gonna get critique with it, and I'm one of them. Critique.
Okay. Now, I don't see how that has anything to do with about me being humble. What being humble is, in my opinion, is that when the lads finish sparring, I sit down and rewatch it because I might have got that wrong. I'll rewatch it. When they fight, I'll rewatch it. Could I have done something better? I check myself. Can I be perfect every time, first time? No. That's being humble. I bring in guys like Lee Wiley, ask questions, bounce ideas, take advice. That's being humble, in my opinion. I bring in Dan Lawrence.
The reason why you bring other people in because you're not sure about yourself. That's why. Yeah, other coaches, they know their system. They know what it is. If the kid don't look good in sparring, that's because you shouldn't have put him in there, should you? And what are you working on? Because sparring is way basically in there for your guy to work on someone. So not working in there to win. They're working in there on specific things, innit? Like you want your guy to, you want your guy only to use the jab to keep his distance. Yeah, or you want your guy to stay up close to work in fight, or you want your client to fighter to learn how to hold or how to do clinches. So you're working on specific things. They're not in there to necessarily win the sparring. They're in there to work on stuff that would help them, enable them to look good in their fight, whichever fight they're doing. So with the reason why you got all these people in your ear, because you're not confident about your opinions. That's why.
To work with the S&C with the boys because he knows more than me in that area. That's being humble. What's not being humble, in my opinion, and I'm not picking any names because I don't know any names, but I'm just saying the general consensus or a general idea is someone who's been in it 30, 40 years. No, you do it my way. That's not being humble. That's just my opinion.
With that being said, can you understand why some people hearing that and hearing those words would be or would feel disrespected?
Yeah, I suppose so. But look, I was asked on something. I'm not here to please everybody. I'm not going to please everybody. You can never please everybody. Even if you try your best to please everybody, you can't please everybody. So I think that there's probably an unjust element of maybe the way I come across on a camera like that, put myself on a hierarchy, but none of the lads ever have anything like that to say. You know me, you'd probably disagree with that, I'd like to think. So yeah, like my job's to ask the question and I gave my opinion. If I that's something that I do. I look at other sports. What do they do? How do they improve themselves? I love those Amazon all or nothing things, you know. What areas can I?
Yeah, but why you look at other sports? You don't need to look further, man. All you need to do is talk to the old timers. You know what I mean? You talk to the old timers who have been around the sport for years. That's what you do. You don't look for other sports. Your sport is boxing. Now, you can, what? Can you learn something from a basketball player to help in boxing? Let me think about that. But boxers are probably already have good footwork already. Like, or footballer, they already know certain things. So you can enhance what they have already, but that would that make them a good boxer? I don't know. I mean, you're looking other places where you don't need to look. Really, you just ask old timers who are around. You know what I mean? It's like a baby saying they're smarter than their parent. That's what it's like. Like you've only been in the world for 2 minutes, and you're talking like, I know where this goes and that goes. I know where this, that, the other. You're smart. That's what it is. It's nuts, mate. It's nuts.
I take from that. That's what this whole facility is about. I looked at how other sports have their training facilities, and I said that level of facility needs to be in boxing. I want to produce that. Is that wrong? Because I think that the average standard of a boxing gym isn't as good as it could be. It doesn't match elite level facilities in other sports. Yeah,
of course not. Because like in the day, some people, they ain't rich like you. Their gym is what their gym is, isn't it? Of course not. They, I'm sure they'd want to put in, but they barely stay. So a lot of gyms are barely staying afloat. They probably inherit it, or they got the gym, and there's all sort of things in that. The kids who come through the door, that's the ones who's paying for it. Not like you with your $1 million sponsors, MT Global, and all the millions of monies you got. High tech and all them things, but everything becomes old. What was new last year becomes old this year. That's how things are, like the phones and everything. So even their gym when they first opened, it was brand new, spanking. But to keep that new, you need to keep pushing money in it and keep investing into the building and because you got new stuff and new equipment in the gym doesn't make it any better than the old classical gym. All you need is, does the stuff work and is it effective? Can it help me do well in my thing? I mean, this stuff here is that's like elementary, mate. Elementary, my dear fellow.
Sports, like, I don't think that's wrong. I think if anything, that's a trait that I'm proud to have.
Final question on it. You have the well-publicised fallout with Mark Tibbs last year in the middle of the year around Canelo Saunders. Some people seem to think that.
Yeah, that's where you was coming from, because you was on that little clip there. You was talking about the Billy Joe Saunders situation in the corner, and then you're talking about, oh yeah, like I think some of the trainers are lazy. So it seemed like you was talking about him. You was talking about Mark Tibbs.
What you said was a response to an interview clip from Peter Fury that's been doing the rounds again. I know that's an old clip. Just clear those things up for me.
No, that it's not pointed out to anybody. Like, I wouldn't even.
Yeah, you try to be smart, bro. You see, your thing is, yeah, try to be smart, man. You know, you was talking about Mark Tibbs. What got comments you got, Danny? You talk about Mark Tibbs, man. Mark Tibbs is lazy. I don't know. You have to ask Dillian, innit? He done pretty well with Dillian. I tell you that. Done pretty well with Dillian, mate. And Dillian, at that point, Dillian signed with him. He had one fight, he had a couple of fights with Chris Oko, and then he got injured, and then Jonathan Banks came in, had that one fight with him, and then he had the AJ fight, and then Mark Tibbs done pretty well with him, matchmaking him, and they done a pretty good job. So I don't think Mark Tibbs is lazy, mate.
I wouldn't even call it a fallout with Mark. He's what he's like. He does his thing. Peter, I haven't got a problem with Peter. I saw Peter at
yeah, see, he just leaves that one, innit? He ain't gonna see. He just go. Mark Tibbs does his thing. So see, he ain't really answered the question. I'll leave it as that. There's nothing more to say. Nothing more to say about this. Yeah, Mark. Wait, the jury's out on you. Yeah. And the comment you made, you backtracked on it. Well, you're kind of backtracking it, but you know it's not a good look, especially in the sport. England's a small sport, and it's a sensitive thing. Mark Tibbs took Dillian, to world level. Exactly. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That's what you're talking about. And I mean, there's nothing more to say about it, right? In my opinion, probably the comment shouldn't have come out, but he feels like he felt like he's under fire for him to say that. If you keep your nose on the grindstone, you wouldn't worry about what other people have to say. Like Shane McGuigan and his dad. A lot of people, when you see Shane, everyone goes, "Oh, it's his dad helping him out." Yeah, that is. They work together, but they're a team, innit? Like, but this is the thing, right? Boxing coaching is a team. You might see the main guy, but it's the other guys behind him, man. You know, when you see Angela Dundee, there's other people behind him, you know, that he works with who help him out. They're just the head. That's like the head, but there's people behind you, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for. How can I explain it? Like when you see MMA, right? You see one main guy talking, but he's got only other decent coaches behind him who are facilitating him. Manuel Stewart had James Ali Bashir. He had Jonathan Banks was another coach there. And Stacey McKinley, he was there. He had Pops. The one used to be with James Stoney. There were all these other they used to all be around Manuel. So that's all talented coaches around him. You know what I mean? And you know, with Ben has to be honest and say, well, listen, look, let's talk about this, right? And this is I can leave it at that. When Ben was in the corner with Tyson Fury, was he there by himself in the biggest fight of Tyson's career, or did he brought people on board? Who did he bring? He had Ricky Hatton and he had Freddie Roach. Why? If you're working so hard and all these guys are old and this, that, the other, why did you bring them on board then? You answer that question. And then when you was getting Otto Wallim, and that's one of Tyson's poorest performance, yeah, and arguably a lot of people think he might have lost it, he just barely won it. You got sacked after that. Then we go into Mark Tibbs, who was the head coach, and you was interfering and whispering in Billy Joe Saunders' ear. How about that? So you just stop it. Stop where you are, yeah. Think about it. Let's keep your noise on the grindstone and don't worry about what other people are thinking. You got the McCormick brothers now, and you got Josh Taylor. If he starts looking bad, you're up for it, mate. We're gonna be back down here giving you the business. I'll tell you that for now. You're gonna get roasted. But anyway, I've got the audio. You've heard the audio. Shall I play it again? I'll play the audio again. If you haven't heard it, if you just came in. Because you know a lot of people come in and you're gonna catch this on the archive, isn't it? Here's the audio of Ben roasting the old timers. Never. What sport, yeah? Do young got the right to flame the old timers? The old timers don't get it. They're untouchable, you know. Listen, a lot of them old training methods, yeah, they've been passed down over hundreds of years, you know. I mean, what you talk about new facilities and I gotta look for basketball and all that. All right, let's see him again. Let me see, because I've got the I'll play it again because I've got it from I recorded it. There you go.
Not to blow my own trumpet, but I feel like you're allowed to. No, man. I feel like, you know, people go, oh yeah, you got to work with this fight, got to work with that fight. Well, why is John, Bob, Bill, who've been in it for 30, 40 years, not coached these fighters? Because they're not good enough. It's easy to point the finger, oh, he gets to work with this fighter, gets to work with that fighter. Well, if you're good enough, you'll get there. And the reality is, I feel like the level of coaching is that poor in this country. I've been able to fast track. And if all these other guys that have been in it 30, 40 years are good enough, they'd be there, but they're not good enough, and that's why they're not here.
And is that because they're set in their ways? Because they've had success, they have success, it goes in like cycles, a bit like a roller coaster.
They're lazy. That's the reality of it. I outwork them. That's the reality of it. They might have 30, 40 years on me, but the amount of time that I spend studying the sport, studying the opponents, studying my own fighters, the details that we go into, it's unrivaled work.
So would you classify yourself as a coachable coach, a guy that takes and absorbs and changes and evolves and is continually evolving?
100%. You have to look back at it. You have to look at yourself as well and say, where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? Where could I have gone better? Whether that's the undisputed fight, what adjustments could we have made? What better information could we have delivered? Or whether it was a bad night. I haven't had a loss since 2016, thankfully. I hope it stays the same way, touch wood. But, you always have to be reassessing yourself and, carry on studying your sport. It'd be easy, like I say, for me to have not had a loss since 2016. It'd be easy for me to go, got this one. Don't need to worry about this. Don't need to worry about that. But if anything, we put more and more and more work in each and every time.
Because you said that when you were talking about Josh Taylor, you just said, he keeps going from a really good fight to a really good fight to a really good fight. Similar to you in some ways.
Yeah. Most of these fights have been title fights. Most were title fights. So clearly we're doing something right.
So George.
Well, you know what? I just realized, he ain't had a loss. What do you mean you haven't been in the ring, mate? What do you mean you haven't had a loss? Billy Joe Saunders lost the other day, didn't he? Now listen to this, yeah. If you're now answer this question: were you or not part of the coaching team with Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo? Yes or no? Yes or no? Was you part of the coaching team, the training team, the teaching team? Was you part of that? You was. So yes, you have had a loss because your whole team gets it. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Like when you go in there, like as a trainer, right? When you go in there, you're a Pierce, the head trainer, and you have a guys there. But you're a team, man. You're a team. Everyone adds their little two pieces in. So stop the bullshit, man. You trying to bullshit. You haven't had a loss from 2016. You're not been in the ring, and your team has had losses, man. Stop the lies. Stop the lies, man. You're just grandizing and pushing your chest out there. Just the bullshit, man. Anyway, people, yeah, that's all I've got to say in it. I'm gonna trim this down anyway. Probably just get straight to the audio and give my take on it and that. But I appreciate you guys coming over. You guys have a blessed evening. Happy New Year for the guys who are coming in. Give me a thumbs up. You catch on archive. Make sure you subscribe if you ain't sub already. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Peace.